Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator, and today we are talking about Sim Update 12 and some of the really awesome features that are coming down the road as I am rocking Sim Update Beta, so you guys don't have to. Stick around because it's going to be some pretty cool information on this one. If you are interested in acquiring any of my Overkills tutorial guides or simply interested in supporting the channel, please consider joining me on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides as well as any future guides that come along down the road. Patreon link can be found in the description below, and thank you to all of my current subscribers. All right, guys, so let's get to chatting. First of off, nice. Sim Update 12 Beta is finally out, so you are able to update to the 12 Beta if that's something you guys choose to do. But as always, I want to make it very clear, guys, with Beta, you run into some pretty significant risk. And one of those risks being that you may have to completely uninstall Microsoft Flight Simulator and reinstall it if you want to get out of the beta and repair damage that it could potentially do. Now, I have not run into that particular scenario yet, but it is something that you could find yourself doing, and it's even posted on the forums and when you subscribe to the beta. If you guys are interested in learning how to join the beta, by all means, feel free to search my channel, and it should be a video on how to do that. I'll try to remember to put a card up, but I usually forget, being completely honest, so I'm just trying to call that as it is. Now let's get squared away here for just a second, and we're going to select a higher altitude here, and we're going to talk about some of the really cool changes that have come up with the latest Sim Update Beta 12, and one of those things being the pop-out windows. Pop-out windows is one of those things that is definitely very, very nice to have, and really brings quite a lot to the simulator and gives you a lot of advancement. Now, one of the things that was unfortunately a real drag about it was that you would find yourself in a position where every single time you launch the simulator, you had to reconfigure those particular settings. So let's talk about that one first, because that's the one that I actually want to demonstrate here on screen. And it's going to be more of a show and tell kind of thing, but I'm not really going to be able to show you how it looks in the cockpit. But let me show you guys some of the things you can do. So let's say, for example, we wanted to take our G3000, we pop that screen out. Give me just a second. It jumped over onto one of my other monitors. Unfortunately, I have quite a few to choose from over here, so Windows tends to throw it all over the place. Let me grab it. I'll bring it up here. Boom, there's one. Okay, so there's that one. And then let's say we wanted to grab this one here. It did the same thing, of course. Little Windows deciding what we want for it, as always. Even though this is my primary display right now, Windows still decided that's not where that should go. Anyway, you guys can tell I'm not bitter about that at all. So here's the really cool thing. So you would take these, you set them up, you put them to the particular monitor. Now, one of the things that's really nice about the way they've done this, and I don't know if that's new, is that you can actually full screen these now individually. Now, the individually part is the part that is definitely new. And what I mean by that is if you selected multiple screens before, as many of you have probably seen, this pop-out menu or screen would also be attached to this one. Inside of it, they're a single window, right? So it made it very, very hard to spread them out. As you can see now, that no longer happens and they open up independently. Now, one of the things that's really cool about these is I can click on just this screen here and I can do an Alt-Enter and make it full screen. Now, obviously, you guys would never want to fly with this on your primary monitor, but what is really nice about these is the previous screen, this one here, for example, is still in the windowed mode. So the example here is that I can take this. I hate it when it does that. Good old Windows. Once again, let me do an Alt-Tab real quick. Well, here, let's just do this and that. Move that over. It and did. By the way, guys, if you ever run into that issue, hold your Windows key, left or right arrow, and it will give you the pull bar back. So now I'm going to drag this over to, for example, one of my touch screens, and I can drop that down there, and then I can full screen just that screen. So now that's on one of my touch screens. I'll try to remember to put a picture of this so you guys can see what it looks like in the end. And then I would do the same thing with this one. Drag this one over to a different touch screen, and I'll set it where I want it. and then full screen that, and now I have a really awesome looking setup here. And again, I'm going to show you guys what that looks like with a picture that should be popping up on the display any moment here. So that's the first part that is really cool. The next part about these new pop-up windows now is when I close the sim, if I want to exit the sim right now, okay, I would simply go this, hit end menu, close down the sim, switch to a different aircraft, whatever. But do not close your pop-out windows. Okay, don't close them. If you don't close them and you just end the mission, end your flight, whatever it may be, then the next time you load back in, those pop-out windows will automatically go back to where their previous position was. So they've added window, basically memory, if you will. Now, if you close your pop-out windows and then exit the cockpit, at that point, you'll lose that memory hold. So remember, your steps are join the cockpit, set your pop-out windows, fly your flight. When you go to end the flight, don't close the pop-out menus. Just hit end to main menu, and you're done, right? The next time you go to fly, for example, next time we jump back into the TBM, my pop-out windows will automatically be there and ready for me. That's a big one because that's going to add a lot especially for someone like myself and many of you who are in the process of building our own cockpits. We have touch screens, we have different controllers, and one of the drags about it right now is having to set that up every single time. It's a real pain in the butt. Now, the one thing that I wish that they would freaking add that, as far as I can tell, haven't, is the ability to use touchscreens with things like the G3000. You can pop out the G3000 screen, but a lot of good that does you because a touchscreen doesn't work. Now, I know there is MSFS Pop-Out Panel Manager. That is an add-on that's found on FlightSim.2. I, unfortunately, just don't have great luck with it. It works about 1 time in 5 for me, and so it gets really frustrating, so I sort of gave up on that. If you guys have some tips and tricks on how to make that better, please let me know. Hit us up on the Discord channel if you guys are interested in joining us. Talk to us there. You guys can hit up me directly if you want from there, and that's a great way to chat with me also. I do pretty good about responding to people in there. So now let's get into a couple of the other patch notes that I do want to discuss with everybody real quick that I'm super excited about when it comes to this stuff. So let's see here. Where did my browser go? And of course, yep, once again, Windows moved it. And not only moved it, but full screened it on a different monitor. Oh, Microsoft, you kill me. Okay, so a couple things that I really wanted to discuss right here is a bunch of stuff that's been fixed with some of the various aircraft. So first off, the auto throttle on the the Cessna Citation Longitude. There's been a lot of questions popping up about how to get it to function correctly, and there was a bug with it. So the auto throttle no longer requires gear and flaps to be retracted to change from takeoff mode to speed, climb, descent modes, etc. So that's really awesome. That's one of the questions that has come up with me where they've seen those issues take place and they were coming down way too fast and things like that. So taxi auto tests now can be ran with the, or are supposed to be run with the engines running. So that's pretty awesome. And there was another one, increased nose down elevator trim limit to prevent autopilot from running out of trim authority at low altitudes and high speeds. I've actually ran into that one. So that was sort of a cool one. Automatic flight controls panel and the approach button tooltip has been fixed. So cool little tips there, but it's nice to see them working on it, which is why I like to announce a lot of this stuff. And then the TBM 930 increased maximum nose wheel steering angle to 28 degrees, meaning she'll actually turn on the ground like she should. That's a big one for me. Increased speed at which the nose wheel steering starts becoming less effective to 10 knots. So again, so now we can actually see that behavior be accurate, which is nice. The taxi and landing lights, they increase the brightness. Pulse lights no longer draw additional power when landing lights are on. I don't really worry about that part. I haven't ran into any kind of simulated scenarios where that's been an issue for me. Let's see here. There was one other one I thought that I saw. Where's the one about the liveries? That might actually be upstairs a little bit. They did fix an issue with liveries for the TBM 930 where the door wouldn't work on anything other than default liveries. It sounds like that has been fixed. So if you have your custom liveries, they should now function as desired. Let's see here. And then the Cessna Citation Longitude, a bunch of fixes there. I don't fly the Longitude. I need to, I did it again. The CJ4, God, I just am meant to get these ones backwards apparently. Bunch of fixes coming for the CJ4, some new helicopter adjustments. I would recommend pausing the screens if you guys are big into these and looking into these. I don't use any of this particular behavior that, at least as of yet, I haven't, so I'm not too concerned with those. There was one other big one that I wanted you guys to see. Give me a second here. Here, guys, this one actually just came up recently. Fixed Tobii eye tracker not being detected when the sim starts up on a monitor that was not set up to use it. So you can now move the Tobii eye tracker around and the sim should still detect it. So that's kind of cool. I'm okay with that one. And let's see here. There was a couple things for controllers. There was a couple of others, guys. Bear with me, that I wanted you guys to be aware of. Oh, new controls. So you guys remember that I'm always talking about how I use SPAD.next and I refuse to use the Microsoft Flight Simulator mapping system. This is why. It's because so much of this stuff like this are still being added. So recognition lights is now a control that can be mapped. In-flight or add-in-flight UI panel, zoom axis, trim RPM decrease. This is for the engines for the helicopter. And then toggle the wing fold. That is not what I meant to hit. Let's go back. So that was one of my biggest issues of why I still use SPAD.next and why I stay away from the in-game mapping controls, because so much of this stuff is actually in the sim. It's just not in the GUI. So you can't actually use it, but it exists in the simulator, and softwares like SPAD.next are able to basically interpret that and go and get it. So it offers a ton more mapping there that the in-game sim doesn't have. So I really recommend SPAD.next. I really hope to see them add significantly more. The need for so many third-party products to do what Microsoft should be able to do by default, that part I'm still a little annoyed with, given the age of the sim. It sort of like goes back to the touchscreen controller. When you have all of these pop-up windows that are usable, for example, like I was talking about earlier, the G3000 touchscreen controller, you can pop that panel out as you guys saw, but you still have to use a mouse to interact with it. I can move it to my touchscreen, I can double tap a button and it will highlight it, but it won't actually trigger the effect. I have to use the mouse. So clearly the functionality is there. They just haven't added it. And touchscreens are everywhere now for cockpits, so that part's kind of bumming. But anyway, VR, aircraft sound audio not heard, stops playing after exiting VR. That has been fixed. Fixed a culling issue on low frame rate, field of view. And let's see here, there was one other one. Oh, the low latency option not working in VR. So they did fix that, and that's a big one as well. That's going to increase performance in virtual reality. And I'll be testing a lot of the stuff. We're going to be doing a full flight with the Longitude. We're going to be doing a full flight with the TBM 930 over the next couple of days here. There's also been some adjustments to the G1000 NXI guide. My G1000 NXI guide is finally, once again, I had to rebuild the damn thing from scratch because of a corruption, but it's finally, once again, just about ready to be released. I'm thinking either tomorrow or the day after at the latest, but I am at a point where I am good to say it is done. I have made a copy of it in case it does its crap again. So that will be out, guys. If you guys are interested, watch for that video. There will be a video on it, as well as, of course, the PDF guide will be available on Patreon if you guys are interested in supporting that project. And then we are also going to be updating the TBM 930 guide and the Cessna Citation Longitude guide as well. Those are going to be coming next month. They should be pretty fast. There isn't too much to adjust, but there's a few things. But a bunch of updates to a lot of different aircraft, guys. So make sure that you guys check that out. And as always, guys, I hope you liked the video, and I will see you in the next one.